The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Business Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericabusiness.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
In the past few years, we've heard the term free agents and been told we would all need to become one in order to succeed. The recent economic structures have helped to promote this concept as reality. Where do we get the tools to take control of our career path in the present and future? Welcome to the Career Confidante with your host, Marie Zimenoff. Marie and her guest experts are here to provide you with the tools you need to move forward and achieve your career goals. Now, here is Marie Zimenoff.
Welcome to the Career Confidante, and thank you for tuning in to this episode here at the Career Confidante. This is your host, Marie Zimenoff, and we're so happy that you're here with us as we go through helping you take care of your career, take control of your career, really be in charge of where you're going in your professional development. And in this show, we go through key elements that you need to be able to do that. Right now that your company's not taking care of your career, there's no career path for you to develop on necessarily. It's really up to you. And you need certain skill sets, certain tools, and certain resources to be able to do that. And so that's why I started this show, was to help you advance your career. And so each week we go through a hot topic in career development or leadership development to help you stay ahead of the curve and proactively moving towards your career goals. And each week you call in or you write me questions, and I love that, so you're welcome to keep doing that. You can always ask any questions about career change, job search, career advancement, or maybe improving your abilities as a leader. And you can do that by calling in live at 866-472-5790 or email me at Marie, M-A-R-I-E, at astrategicadvantage.com. And I look forward to continuing to help you move forward in your career. And part of that, and we're going to be talking about some holiday job search and holiday career management today, because part of what goes on when we're in charge of our career is that we sort of have these lulls, right? We have these times in our business or in our careers where we have a little bit of extra time maybe, or we have personal things that take over and get in the way of our work. And that's the natural ebb and flow of life. And yet if we're not being careful, right, if we're not taking care of our family life or our career, all of those things, something suffers usually, right? And so I wanted to spend some time today, and then we're going to do a career checkup here later in the month also, to really help you think about where you're at in your career and what you want to do differently next year, or what you need to do next year to help you move in the direction you want to move in. And today, since we're just past Thanksgiving, and we talked a little bit last week about gratitude and how we want to continue to think about giving gratitude in our work. Of course, lots of topics last week on the internet, lots of blogs about gratitude. And I wanted to talk about one in particular that if you're on LinkedIn, you probably saw an article inspired or by one of the leaders at Google. And this article on LinkedIn was talking about the difference between people who continue to be happy at Google or people who slowly decline in their happiness, right? And if you're familiar at all with the Google culture, they call them nooglers, right? You're new at Google, you're a noogler. Very cute. Anyway, and it holds true for most of us, right? Whether it's in a specific job or maybe in the type of work that we've chosen, you tend to be happiest at the beginning, right? In a relationship, they might call that a honeymoon period. And so we tend to have these honeymoon periods at work, and then the new wears off, right? And we might not be so excited about what we're doing every day. And interestingly enough, this research at Google was looking at what made the difference. What made the difference between people being happy and continuing to be happy, or kind of having that slow decline of not being happy anymore. And probably not a huge surprise here, since we're talking about gratitude and Thanksgiving when this article came up. But one of the points of difference that they found was people being grateful, people showing gratitude, and people kind of focusing on that gratitude. And of course, this wasn't the first time that I'd heard this, and been to lots of different trainings where people are talking about being grateful and the power of gratitude. And yet it was interesting to see this research that really is pointing out that if we focus on the things that we're grateful for, and in this article they suggest writing 2 or 3 people about what we're grateful for, to express that gratitude, at least 2 people a day, to take the time to do that every day actually breeds happiness, right? When we think about what we have now instead of maybe focusing on what we don't have or all of those pieces, we tend to be happier. And we've talked about this throughout the year a little bit in terms of how it applies to our careers. But I would just take the moment as you're going into this season. We just got done with Thanksgiving here in the U.S. and kind of a holiday season even internationally, with different New Year's and those types of things coming up over the next couple of months. To think about how you're showing your gratitude, and to think about how you're happy with what you have. And in your career, that doesn't mean that we're not necessarily striving for growth and development and maybe even change in our career, but that when we do that out of an attitude of gratitude, didn't even mean for that to happen, but it did. When we do that out of that attitude of gratitude, it has a much different feel for everyone involved, right? It has a much different feel for you, the person who might be looking to make that change, and for the people you're going to be talking to about that change, and it might make all the difference. So 1 to 2 people a day, or writing down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And when you're focused on that, instead of focused on all of the pieces of what you're striving for, and that balance might make a big difference in what you're looking for. And especially over this holiday season, an easy thing to focus on as you go into this holiday season. So beyond that, beyond this idea of gratitude and thinking about that in terms of just celebrating Thanksgiving last week here in the U.S., I wanted to also talk about today some of the myths that we tell ourselves around job search during the holidays. And then we're going to talk about some of the ways that you can use this time of the holidays, leverage, if you will, some of the things that are going on naturally because of the holidays to advance your career or improve your job search, whatever you might be looking to do over the next year, or shorter than that if you're looking for a job. So we're going to talk about some of the myths and what's out there around job search in this holiday time. And you may have heard these. They're not a surprise, but I want to talk about them to get you motivated and to keep you motivated over this holiday time. So one of the biggest myths that I hear is that people aren't hiring, right? We think, oh, they're busy, they're waiting until the beginning of the year. There's really not much going on over the holiday season, right? That may be what we're telling ourselves. And so went and dug a little bit here, and one of my colleagues, Susan Joyce, did a great job of pulling some of the research together, just looking at the U.S. Department labor reports in terms of hiring. And so when we think about hiring, we think about, there's those holiday jobs. But when we look at the numbers, there are 4,529,000 hires in November of 2013, 4.529 in November of 2013, 4.578 in December of 2013, right? So you've got an increase there of about 40,000 in terms of hiring just between November and December increase. And then in January, 4,535,000. So kind of right in between that November and December number. So if you're looking at hires, and obviously lots of other factors going on in our economy, but that helps us see that people aren't shutting down for the holidays, right? There are plenty of businesses who are hiring during that November and December time frame. And so I might think about it differently, right? That actually there's a lot of employers who, as Susan points out here, are ramping up for the new year. So there might be money that they've got to spend before that new year, right? And that's not necessarily everybody's year end, right? Lots of companies year end in September, October, so that they don't have year end over the holidays. Lots of companies year end at all different times. And so it may just be business as usual for a lot of people over the holidays, except for, yes, of course, there are people who are taking off time. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not trying to meet some kind of hiring goal by the end of the year or by the end of that month, just like any other month for that business. So if you're kind of sitting back and thinking, I've been thinking about making a move, or I've been thinking about making a change, but I'll just wait until the new year, you might be missing out. And you might be missing out on some good opportunities. You might be missing out on some opportunities to get seen, because of course what happens, lots of people do think this during the holidays, and so your competition is lower. So we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the strategies. So one of the other myths here that I hear about the job search is that people aren't around, right? Everyone's wrapped up in the holiday season. People are taking off time. And so it, again, doesn't do much good for me to try to make a change. Well, that's, again, there are some good parts about people being a little bit looser over the holidays, and we're going to talk about how we can use that to your advantage. But they're not necessarily taking off a whole bunch of time, right? Lots of businesses have to cover like normal. They have to keep business going as usual. And there may be companies who do close down, but that probably is limited time, right? Most companies can't afford to close down operations for 3 or 4 weeks. It may be a week, and then it's right back up to business as usual. So especially those two myths here are going to set the stage for us in terms of talking about your job search. In this next segment, we're going to really dig into how you can use this holiday time and use some of the things that might be a little different during this holiday time to your advantage, in your job search or in advancing your career over the next year. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to keep talking about some strategies for career advancement during the holiday season. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Voice America Business Network, the bottom line in business.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation. The way we do banking today continues to evolve. No longer is it just brick and mortar locations or traditional banker's hours. Today, banking is 24/7. It's in the home. It's on the go. It's digital. Tune in to Breaking Banks with Brett King for a look at how traditional banking as we know it has changed due to a loss of trust, changing economic conditions and consumer behavior, government involvement, and of course, technology. What does it all mean? Listen every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio. Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidante with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidante.
Welcome back to the Career Confidante, and today we are taking some time to think about how we want to handle the holidays. Whether you're in active job search or maybe you're a passive job seeker right now, just kind of thinking about making a move, or thinking about advancing your career next year, and how can you position yourself to be the person that gets that promotion or the person that gets looked at for that great new project. The holidays are a time when there's maybe extra opportunity for you to position yourself in that way, to do some of these things. And so we just talked about some of the gratitude research that came out of Google, and it's not new by any means, but just came out right before Thanksgiving, thinking about how we can make sure that we're demonstrating our gratitude for others on a daily basis and really thinking about what we're grateful for. And one of the comments that was made in that article was that when you're telling people thank you, right? When you're telling people thank you, you're automatically feeding those relationships. And what a great way to do it, right? What a great way to maintain your relationships by telling people thank you. And, corporations and small businesses especially do that at this time of year. This is when you're getting your holiday card from your real estate agent and maybe your career professional, right? You're getting those maybe more corporate types of thank yous, and think about how you might adopt that philosophy for yourself, right? Who in your world do you need to reach back out to, reconnect with? And of course you can do it in a genuine way, but to acknowledge that person during the season and to use maybe the umbrella of the holiday season to make that connection, And that kind of leads us into this process of thinking about job search or career advancement and what are these extra opportunities that we have during the holiday. So we've talked about the myths, right? People are hiring just as many hires in December, actually more hires in December than November or January last year. Obviously, some of that might be holiday hiring, but people aren't doing holiday hiring in January, and there's a lot of hires then. And if you don't apply in December, you don't get hired in January. You don't apply in November, you don't get hired in January. So thinking about that, taking that time off does cost us opportunities. Second myth, I guess, was that people don't have time. And so I would say that what we're going to talk about and the things that you might want to do during your job search in the holiday time actually are because of the opposite being true. That during the holidays, people actually have more time in some ways, right? They might be more generous, they might be more flexible. There's actually created social activities that enable networking during the holiday time. And so it might actually be the best time for networking. It might be the best time to get people to say yes to having coffee with you, right? Because who wants to sit at work during the holiday time when we're distracted? Oh yeah, sure, I'd love to go to coffee with someone who's trying to make a change or who's trying to do some professional development next year and doing some planning, right? Maybe your HR person, maybe your manager, or if you're job searching, those managers that you're wanting to talk to may actually say yes when you're expecting a no because of the holidays. So we're going to talk about some of the ways that you might capitalize on that, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about the holiday party piece and what you want to do at a holiday party. We'll talk a little bit about that one-on-one networking. So let's talk about the holiday party. And I think the thing that I hear from people a lot is, well, I don't want to talk about my job search, at this holiday party. Great. Perfect. You don't have to talk about your job search to be networking, right? So obviously you want to know what you want to say when you walk into that holiday party. And, if you listen to some of the networking pieces that we've done early in the year, we talked about ditch the elevator pitch and take the stairs, right? Where I don't really care for you to have an elevator pitch anyways. And a holiday party is definitely not the place for an elevator pitch. I want you to know what you want to say about what you're doing right now. I want that to be positive and future focused, but it doesn't need to be a pitch. And it doesn't need to be, how can I shove everything that I want you to know about me in 10 seconds or 30 seconds, right? It might be as brief as, I'm currently doing some development, or I'm currently looking for this, or, I'm just gotten into doing that. It doesn't need to be necessarily even career focused, right? It just has to be authentic. And so it might be that, I just started this new project at work and I'm really excited about it. As long as it's talking about the subject matter that you want to talk about, it's great, right? We talked about during those networking sessions, a gentleman that I was working with who was at a certain company, and every time people asked him what he did, he started talking about that company, when what he really wanted to be talking about was leaving the company, right? Well, if everybody's going to ask you about Google, right, because you work at Google, but you really want to work somewhere else, then what you say when they talk to you should point in the direction you want to point in, right? And so it might not be talking about where you are now. It might not even be talking about work. It might be something more personal, especially at a holiday party where you tend to be around people that's okay with, right? oh, I'm working on developing this in my own time, or I'm just started woodworking. It doesn't have to be career focused. And if you're not in the U.S., you're probably going, duh, right? Because that tends to be this U.S. problem where we think it has to be focused on work, and it doesn't have to be. You can talk at a holiday party about the things you want to talk about, the things that make sense for the audience that you're talking about, and still be networking. Right? Still be building relationships, still be laying the foundation to talk to that person later, and most importantly, laying the foundation to find something you have in common with that person that is not work related. Right? And a holiday party, that's the opportunity that it offers for you. Obviously, we want to be careful of certain things. If you're having a hard time at work, just as if you were having a hard time in a relationship or any other area of your life, you might want to be careful about how much you drink, right? You might want to be careful about what topics you get into, because we don't necessarily want this to become an area where you're talking about things that make other people uncomfortable. And so it's that we want to be authentic and we want to be respectful of what's appropriate for the situation. And that'll change depending on what type of holiday party you're at, right? Different topics may be more appropriate for a work holiday party, but it still can be authentic and more personal. Might be your hobbies, might be your interests, might be what you're doing for the holidays with your family, as long as it doesn't get to that place where you're crossing those lines of what's going to be comfortable for that person that you're speaking with. A personal holiday party with friends and family, again, it's taking the pressure off of yourself to talk about work and just to talk about what comes naturally. We can do the other part of networking later, not at the holiday party. And so one of the things I was reading on LinkedIn was saying, not to network using your business cards if you're looking for other work. Well, I would prefer that at this holiday party, that depth of conversation doesn't need to happen, right? At the holiday party, you could be giving out your business cards because you're just talking to people and making a relationship. You're not necessarily talking about how you want to make a move, right? That might be a little too deep for the holiday party conversation, right? People are there to have fun and you're there to have fun. So it's all about that networking in a more jovial, and it's not superficial, right? But it's just, you're there in the spirit of the holiday season, and you don't have to talk that deep about work, right? And it's nice. Takes the pressure off of it for you. You can talk about your hobbies. You can talk about the things that really you want to talk about and build the relationships, the foundation for the relationships in the way you want to. And so the holiday party kind of, and this may be similar to a cocktail party for some of us, right? Where it's not the best place to network, especially for an introvert. And so giving yourself the latitude to talk about the things that are comfortable for you will make that party much more palatable. Right? There's no pressure to network in terms of, I've got to tell this person what I am doing and see if they know anybody that I can talk to. Right? All that pressure, all of that process, if you will, of networking, I don't really like to do at a cocktail party of any kind, let alone at a holiday party. So what those holiday parties do offer the opportunity for you to do is to meet or reconnect with people who might be the people you need to talk to about those conversations in a very different way, right? So if you're at that holiday party, you might get the opportunity to meet your CEO, right, who you only get to see once a year. You might get the opportunity to talk to someone you'd love to have as your mentor. And so seeking out those people at that holiday party is great, You just don't need the pressure of making the ask right then, right? Have a good conversation, talk to them about what they're interested in, go back and listen to the session about the elevator pitch versus the taking the stairs, because that's really what this gives you the opportunity to do. There's no pressure. There's no time limit necessarily. And so you have the opportunity to ask questions and really do some of those things that we know are important in building relationships. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about some of those key things that you can do in that conversation, and then we're going to talk about the follow-up piece or the one-on-one piece if you're not going to the holiday party, but you'd like to use the holiday spirit to improve your networking and your career advancement during this holiday time. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
We're always talking business. Talk to an expert. Call now toll free 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation. Today's business marketplace is becoming increasingly global thanks to technologies that didn't even exist a few short years ago. Your business might be a startup or you might be one of the Global 500. Either way, you're probably looking at customers and competitors in faraway regions. Listen for Global Reach with host Tay Revez as she brings together experts, ideas, and listeners to help you anywhere in the world. Global Reach is broadcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Now you don't have to stay linked to your desktop or laptop. Take Voice America on the go and listen anywhere. Get our mobile app for iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android at the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidante with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidante.
Welcome back to the Career Confidante. Today we're talking about the holiday job search. So we've talked about this power of gratitude and thinking about over the holiday season, how can you reconnect with people and offer them gratitude, right? To say thank you for whatever they are doing to help you in whatever way, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be career-wise, might be more personal, might be on a hobby basis, but just to take the opportunity to do that and maybe follow the lead of your real estate agent, your mortgage broker, your CPA, whoever it is that are sending you those holiday cards this holiday season, and thinking about those people that you want to take the opportunity to reach out to as well. Then we talked a little bit about job search myths, and now we're talking about job search opportunities or maybe career opportunities during the holiday season. And of course, one of those opportunities is the great equalizer, maybe, of the holiday party, right? Where everybody's there and everybody's fairly accessible, and you have the opportunity to reconnect with people within your organization or maybe within your family and friends group that you want to reconnect with, right? And so, like any networking situation, you want to have an idea of going into that holiday party, who might you want to reconnect with, right? Who are you going to be seeking out? Because otherwise you might end up standing in the same group of people and leave and think, oh, geez, it would have been nice to talk to so-and-so. The other piece is, of course, to know what you want to say. But to me, it's actually more important, and especially in this holiday season, to maybe know what questions you want to ask somebody else. And especially if those kinds of events tend to be overwhelming for you, that might be the best strategy. Of course, you want to know what you want to say, but the conversation will happen more naturally. Maybe if you think about what you want to ask that person, then the conversation will get started and you won't have to think so much, which will make it great, right? The one thing I like about a holiday party is that it's similar to a focused networking event, right, where there are specific questions that everyone can be talking about that will be easy for you to ask. What are they doing for their family with their family for the holidays? Maybe what's their family tradition? Are they going away for the holidays? All of those types of questions will start a conversation for you, and they'll be easy for you to reciprocate that answer. Notice that none of those questions are talking about work, because most of the time at a holiday party we aren't there to talk about work. So it gives us that opportunity to connect with people on a different level, and gives an opportunity to connect with people we don't necessarily always get to connect with on that other level. So that holiday opportunity might exist at that kind of holiday party level. But there might be people that you want to network with that aren't going to be at a holiday party with you, right? And maybe they aren't people necessarily that you can start the conversation with on the gratitude piece, or maybe there are people that you connect with at the holiday party and you want to talk to them further. And I think that this is the biggest part to me of holiday job search, is that when we take a break from our search, we create these gaps, right? You create these gaps of time where you haven't connected with those people, whether it's the person you applied to a job or it's a networking contact. When we take time off, we create this gap. And I think that the holidays give us an opportunity to close that gap when we've let one create itself, right? And they maybe remind us to do that on a more consistent basis so that we don't let those gaps happen. And that's, in essence, what that gratitude kind of idea would help you do, is to not let those gaps happen. And as you move forward in your career, especially from now in our world today, one of the biggest things that I see as career stability, career guarantee, whatever you might want to call it, is your network. And I think we're all going to have to get better at not letting those gaps happen with the key people in our network and the key people who help us, right? And the key people that we can help. So that we have our network as a tool that we can use, because you can't use it if you've let a gap happen, right? It's a lot more cumbersome. It's a lot more where, people say, I feel like that I can't really reach out to that person because it's been so long since we talked and I can't ask them for help. Bummer, right? So let's use the holidays as a time to close some of those gaps. And I love the one-on-one, right? I'm an introvert, and I think it's just powerful. You go to a cocktail party, you go to a holiday party, you see somebody, great, right? There's a lot of people there. Hopefully you've had a good conversation. Hopefully you've asked great questions that help them remember you as somebody who cares about other people, right? And open that door to have a one-on-one. Might not be possible with everybody that you'd like to connect with, although you might be surprised. But giving yourself that opportunity to have that one-on-one with those contacts that you want to rebuild that bridge, or that you want to build a bridge, right? That person that you'd love to have mentor you. Those hiring managers that will be in charge of where you go next. Those people that can help you plan your professional development for the next year, right? Whether that's your manager, your HR person, whatever that is. You have the opportunity, I think kind of a unique opportunity over the holidays, to ask for that time. 1, because people are feeling more generous. 2, because they'd love to get out of the office. And 3, because the holidays naturally provide that opportunity to reconnect, right? That thank you, whatever it might be, it just seems to be out there in the air, that opportunity to reconnect. So think about how you might do that, right? Think about those people that you want to connect with and what makes sense for them. Can you take your boss, right, to lunch? Go to lunch with just your boss and reconnect and build that relationship. That relationship might be the best one for your career if you're looking to advance your career. Who in your network do you need to go have coffee with? And again, in that meeting, resisting the urge necessarily to focus on your career. Build the relationship. Rebuild the relationship. Find out what's going on for them. And yes, be ready to share where you're headed in a positive and future-focused way. And know what you might want to ask them for help, because there might be that opportunity to ask for help. And how can they help? In a way that makes sense for them, in a way that's not overly pressured. But that's your opportunity, right, over this holiday season, is to reconnect, to go to those social activities that are created for you and start the building of a relationship, and then to do those one-on-ones. Go to coffee, rekindle, and figure out how you can help that person. Figure out what you're grateful for that person does for you. Show that gratitude after you meet with them, and know what they can do for you so that you can express that if it comes up. Right? Are you looking for mentorship? Are you looking for a professional development opportunity in the next year? Are you looking for an introduction to someone that might be helpful? If we're focused on the relationship first, some of those opportunities will come up and give us a little window to ask for that help. And that, to me, is networking. And if you go back and you listen to some of the networking sessions, there's some more depth in that part of it, and to think about how we can do that, right? And some other, kind of fun things, whether that's sending somebody cookies. I think thinking about all of those ideas that are, and I love our small business friends because they give those ideas to us. How can you show your gratitude for those people? How can you build that relationship in this time where you can have the opportunity to reconnect and maybe ask for some help? And you know what? I love the idea of asking for advice. And when I talk about networking with people, a lot of times that's where I focus, because people love to give advice, right? They may not be ready to give you a job. They might not be ready to even make an introduction for you, but they'll give you advice. And if you focus on that and that's your ask, that's a great ask, because it gives them an opportunity to be successful and to feel successful. Of course, you want to be thankful for that advice no matter what it is, right? And do the things that need to be done. And then there's that follow-up piece in terms of saying thank you, doing what you say you will do, and being consistent, the holidays might be a great time to start and rekindle a relationship, a networking relationship, a work relationship, but it's not going to do you any good if then it just falls away again, right? So it's that ability to keep that relationship going by giving, by paying attention to what you might be able to share with that person, and of course by knowing when and what you can ask for to keep that relationship going too. I think that's maybe one of the myths about networking, is that if I ask for something, that's a bad thing. If you ask for something that that person can give, and you give that person opportunities to help you that are reasonable and comfortable for them, it actually strengthens the relationship, right? Because they want to help, and you're giving them an opportunity to do that in a way that works for them, keeping that relationship going. So in our final section here, we're going to talk a little bit about enjoying the holidays, and enjoying the holidays in a career sense too, right? We're going to talk a little bit about enjoying your career during the holidays, and some of that in the job search, and some of that even if you're employed, some of the pitfalls and things that might keep us from enjoying this time in our career and these holidays. We're going to talk about that when we come back in just a few minutes.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio, Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com, or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation. Workplaces are only as strong as their teams. Teams are only as strong as their individual members. Are you seeking a better way to take your business to a higher level? We're here to help. Listen for Leading with Social Emotional Intelligence, Building Trust Through Intentionality and Vulnerability with host Glenn Harris. Together, we'll explore the 5 key behaviors of a cohesive team and other concepts designed to keep your team working smarter. Tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Business.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidante with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidante.
Welcome back to The Career Confidante. This is your host, Marie Zimenoff, and today we're talking about holiday career management, job search during the holiday time. And one of the things that I think can happen during the holidays is we start to reflect back on the year, and maybe it's easy to think about where we're not, right? To think about that we haven't gotten where we wanted to this year, or we haven't gotten to where we wanted to be in our career. And so or that we don't have a job, right? And of course that's stressful during the holiday season. And so I want to just talk about some of the tips, strategies maybe that we can use and think about to take care of ourselves a little bit during the holiday time. And we talked about it already, but in terms of that gratitude piece, to really focus on switching our mindset and our mind's focus away from that lacking kind of idea to, and people will call it abundance, and you may not be feeling abundant. So let's just say grateful. What is it that you need to be grateful for in your career, in your life? And really having that, and if it needs to be very structured, then make it structured, right? Where you're writing the 2 people a day like the Google article suggested, or at the end of the day you've got to write down 5 things that you're thankful for, right? When you're thinking about that throughout the day, what are my 5 things going to be that I'm grateful for? It makes it a lot harder to focus on the negative and what you don't have. And if you're facing some kind of pushback in your career, that may be a good place to focus. If you're not getting to where you think you deserve to be, it may be because others are sensing that sense of disapproval of where you are. And they don't quite know how to place that, right? And so that might be something that's holding you back that you can't even really put your finger on. Why am I not getting where I want to go? It's kind of the dating analogy, right? That when all you want to do is find a girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife, no one is to be found. And when you change your focus, it may happen, right? May not, but it may. In your career, the same thing might be going on, where you're pushing so hard and people can feel that push and that discontent. What if you were grateful? What if you were expressing how you're grateful for where you are? Not that you're settling, but you're grateful for where you are. How might that be different? Of course, if we're in job search and we're unemployed, that might be harder to think about what we're grateful for, and can still be a great exercise for us. One of the other things that I find, and maybe this is true more for whatever holiday it is true for you, I would say for me, sometimes it's my birthday, that our expectations get out of whack, right? Are your expectations set around something that you don't have control over? Are they set around something that really isn't as important for you as you're making it? Are your expectations out of control in some way or another? And so just thinking about those expectations, and it may be even on the networking or job search side, right? If you're thinking, oh, well, everybody's gone, so they're not going to respond, you may be setting your expectations too low. But if you're getting frustrated because nobody's responding, well, it is the holiday time, and how can we set our expectations in a reasonable fashion? And then thinking about that consistent effort, right? That job search and career advancement are all about this consistent effort. And how can we plan that consistent effort over the time and maybe take out some of the roller coaster ride? Our last ideas here around holiday job search, and really thinking about how we can enjoy the holiday season by setting our expectations correctly, and really by focusing maybe less on our career and more on the relationships during this time, as we've been talking about throughout the hour. And then we're going to talk about more next week, but also to start thinking about, one of the things that I think happens that makes us unhappy is we start to focus on things we don't have control over in our career, in our job search. And so during this holiday time, if you are thinking about making a move, if you are thinking about job search, look at how you can spend some energy on yourself doing the things that might matter, right? You might spend some time working on your resume. You might spend some time doing some research and go back and kind of rethink where you are, right? That reevaluation of your job search. What's been working for you? What hasn't been working for you? Why? If you're in your career, you might sit down and think about, I'm going to be coming up for this year of my review. They're going to be looking at what I want to do for professional development. Maybe it's my time now to start thinking about that plan, right? I've got a colleague, and her husband each December go together and sit down and talk about their goals for next year, their professional goals and their personal goals. And maybe that's something that you want to do for yourself, with your spouse, and really take this time to reflect on where you've come in as positive of a way as you can, but to also look forward and what things do you want to accomplish in the coming year, both at work and in your professional life. So we're going to talk more next week about kind of a career evaluation and an end-of-year career evaluation and plan for next year, and put some structure to that for you. But over the next week, I hope you'll take some time to give gratitude. Hope you'll take some time to think about what you've accomplished this year, and start thinking about what you want for the coming year in your career. And I'd look forward to, if you want to share your ideas, you can always email me at Marie, M-A-R-I-E, at astrategicadvantage.com. And I'm, of course, always here as your supporter in moving your career forward. And we'll be right back here next week on the Career Confidante.
Thank you for listening to The Career Confidante. Marie Zimenoff will return again with another terrific guest next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel. Be sure to join us then.